Oh boy, I have good news and bad news.
Give me the good news first.
Okay, this episode is our very first interview.
What? With who?
With Alex Torres of Fleshvessel. They're a local Chicago experimental death metal band.
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah.
how can any of this have any bad news to it? Well, one of me has to go.
Which one of we?
Yes. Yeah, well, I was going to say me because, I'm just like that.
Right.
But
Sure,
you're
so
actually
chivalrous.
sitting closer to the door.
in the
So I'm just going to
same
start
chair.
kind of shoving you out
No,
this way.
stop,
And then,
stop.
actually, so I'm
No,
right on
I
cue.
wanna
Here's our
do
theme
this.
music.
I wanna
God, thank you for
Two
coming
guys,
to Two Guys Same
same
Person.
person.
It's our
Come
very
on.
first interview.
Hell yeah, likewise.
So you are Alex Torres of Fleshvessel. Encyclopedia Metallum actually lists you guys up being 4 members, correct?
Yeah, so our bass player is Grant. I actually don't know how to pronounce his last name.
That's okay.
But he, we actually met my first year at Columbia, and he was my roommate. He was like one of the first people I met there.
Cool.
And we have just like stayed connected over the years. We were both really into prog and like just kind of more odd styles of music, so we kind of bonded over that initially, and became really good friends.
Okay.
And then Gwyn, I actually didn't meet him until our my junior year, I believe.
Okay.
We had music time and place together, and then I just saw him wearing like a Corpaclani shirt, and I was like, man, obviously
Sick.
I got to talk to this person because obviously they're into metal and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and then Troll, I met like at freshman convocation or something like that. He came up to me and he just picked me out of the crowd because I was obviously wearing a metal shirt, and he had
Sick.
like a Yes shirt on or something. It was
Dude.
like,
So college friends.
yeah, essentially everybody in the band went to Columbia at some point.
Okay. So then that leaves you as the 4th member,
Yeah.
Alex Torres. So that's kind of where I really want to start digging. My first question here, where and why are you from? Meaning, where are you from and why are you from there?
From like, where was I born?
Yeah, where did you start?
So I'm from Kankakee, Illinois, about
Okay.
an hour south of here in Chicago.
Cool.
Yeah,
why
I
are
mean,
you from there? Parents from there?
They moved there. My parents met in Chicago, and then I think like when they decided they wanted to have a family, they moved down there. And yeah, I lived in Kankakee pretty much my whole life until I came to Chicago for school.
For college.
Yeah.
Met these guys.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, growing up in Kankakee, what was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
Man, I think it might have been like Darkest Hours, Undoing Ruin. I remember that was one of the first records I ever bought myself.
Yeah.
And still to this day, a fantastic melodic death metal record. Amazing.
So, well, I'm glad you already... It's so funny that you started with death metal because literally my next question is... the Encyclopedia Metallum, the Metal Archives, which is the coolest website I've ever seen, literally lists your band as experimental death metal. So the first thing I want to do is ask if you can unpack experimental death metal for people who might not know how intricately separated metal categories can get.
Yeah. So experimental death metal is like definitely a broad term. Some people call us avant-garde death metal, which is basically just like any kind of death metal that you can't categorize otherwise. There's usually elements of like all sorts of other music involved.
You guys have some wild instruments.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things I like to focus on, is just because I don't know, to me like music gets so much more interesting when you have lots of different textures and timbres to play around with.
For sure,
and I feel
than
like
the prescribed sound.
Yeah, exactly. And oftentimes death metal can be a little monotone in that way. It's just always extreme, always in your face all the time, which is fine, which is can be really awesome.
Sure.
But one of the things I like about music the most is how the variety and how many different emotions you can experience through like the course of one song or whatever.
So what brings you to death metal? I mean, in the first place, I mean, you started really early. Usually people get, whatever basic their family's listening to, and then they go off on their own tangent.
Yeah.
The first album was a death. You were ready to go.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, when I was really young, like I remember hanging out at one of my, it was actually my brother's friend's house. I hung out with a lot of my brother's friends growing up. He was my older brother, and I was like, oh, these people are cool, so I'm gonna hang out with them.
Nice.
And I remember they had like the TV on MTV or something like that back when they actually played music videos and shit. And they had like a Dimmu Borgir music video playing or something like that. And I was like, oh, this is I haven't seen anything like this before.
Okay.
And then I ended up borrowing that kid's like Slipknot CD or something. So obviously I started off with like kind of more extreme stuff, and then got to the more extreme stuff after that.
What year-ish would this have been for you?
Probably like 2004 or 5.
Okay.
So I was in 4th or 5th grade.
Okay. Wow, you really did start with some extreme Slipknot in 4th grade. That's hardcore. Was it a household of the macabre arts, the horror household? I know I'm jumping ahead of myself. I know your dad did one of the Remaster album cover.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a second. It's super cool, but it seemed to be a theme in the family.
Actually not really.
No?
My parents were just really open about what kind of art my brother and I consumed and stuff.
Sick.
I guess in a way it was kind of, as you suggested, now that I think about it. We didn't really have that sort of theme, but my dad I grew up with my dad watching a lot of like horror movies and stuff.
Okay.
So that definitely had an influence on kind of what me and my brother were interested in.
Horror movies and metal music are almost the same genre at this
Yeah.
point. Like if you like one, you like the other, and if not, imagery from either or. I'm just waiting for movie titles to come out with all that like scratch.
Yeah.
You know
The logos.
the metal album logos.
Did you ever see the movie Mandy?
No.
They sort of did that, like the logo for the film sort of looked like a metal logo, but
That's sick.
it's a fantastic movie. If you like Nicolas Cage.
I like the Nicolas Cage diagram of like crazy and good,
Yeah,
and like where it all lands. No, the horror movie for me this year was Skinamarink. Have you seen that one?
I have.
It's the most metal movie I've ever seen in my life. Just the I watched like a YouTube breakdown that really helped me understand what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
That's fucking metal as fuck. I'm not gonna ruin it, but it's so tight. Okay, so you start off with the death metal. You're up here for college. That's actually kind of funny enough where we met. We were going to Columbia. The composition program, right?
Yeah.
For your bachelor's, excellent. So I know specifically that you're a trained musician. You are a multi-instrumentalist. I mean, you're listed just on the Promethean Fate Sealed album. Good Lord, dude. Guitars, door harp, Puerto Rican cuatro, my bad, viola, drum programming, which is another thing I want to get into. So you're doing all these things. Specifically about drum programming, why programming versus playing it? I mean, when you can learn new skills. It's a drum. Like, what was...
It was more of a like budgetary thing.
Totally.
We at the time just didn't have enough money to hire a drummer, and we recorded this over the pandemic. So I was laid off. You know, a lot of recording studios like weren't operating at the time even. So just decided to go with programmed drums. We tried to do it DIY, and I just wasn't satisfied with the sound of it. So we decided to just do it ourselves, and I think it turned out pretty good.
It sounds insane. And so my follow-up question is: was there any notation software versus were you clicking the MIDIs?
Yeah.
In the digital audio workstation, if anybody doesn't know, your Logics, your Reasons, your whatever's. So you did each thing at a time, each hi-hat hit, each tom hit as a MIDI click, program the drum.
Yeah, sort of. We usually would start a song out just like, okay, this is the kind of feel that I want for the drum part, and I would click it one by one, and then if that part is extended, I'll just copy and paste that section, and then go back and kind of refine, make it sound more human and more like add in variation and stuff.
Wow. So it's like it's the new era of music notation because you were literally notating in MIDI.
Yeah.
Right? You're just not using the actual written language.
Yeah, like
music notation.
Yeah.
And then you have to go back and, maybe this guitar is, I don't want to say late, but like a human is playing it, so maybe it's not that perfect quantized. So you got to move that hi-hat just to...
Yeah, exactly. Even like doing the velocity changes, like if you have like a blast beat, obviously not every snare hit is going to be the exact same.
And you can hear that.
Yeah, you can go in and change the velocity, so just slight minor changes to make it sound a little bit more like a human is playing it.
So would you say you could sit behind a drum set and make it work, so you would know what sounds real versus an octopus? With 8 arms and 8 sticks, right? 9 cymbals at the same time.
I mean, I'm definitely not a drummer, but
okay.
I mean, I can definitely tell, like, you know, what would be possible and what's, like, what's impossible. I'm sure there's, like, a few little things on there that's like, okay, you can't actually do that. There's probably drummers out there that could do it.
Right. Well, I literally couldn't. I've been listening to the album, first when it came out, just because we stand our friends. But even recently, I was listening to, like, your full album on Spotify, and then I think it's a different work. So the Bile of Man Reborn Remaster. Mm-hmm. That was an earlier EP, correct?
Yeah, that came out in 2020.
So even the drums there, and I know, so I've got the names here. We'll get to those questions. I know those are live drums. Mm. And then versus the programmed drums, I'm telling you as a drummer, it's hard to discern just sonically, you know, what is or isn't real. Yeah. Even if something is, go to a metal show, Lamb of God is not playing a drum set that loud.
Right.
They're triggered drums, right? Yeah. So you might even have, I could even argue that your programmed drums might even sound like somebody on just an electric drum kit. Yeah. It's really smooth. So I wanted to give you that compliment because it doesn't sound programmed. It was really nice.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So let's zoom out a little bit. The Fleshvessel band is under Voidhanger Records.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So doing as much research as I could, they were founded in Italy in 2008 by, I don't want to butcher this, Luciano Gaglio. Mm-hmm. What? How did you guys get on an Italian record label? Do you know this guy? What?
I don't know him personally, but it's basically how it ended up happening is I had been a fan of the label for a few years. Okay. And I ended up adding Luciano just as like a Facebook friend. Wow. Okay. And it was around the time when Bile of Man Reborn had come out, and I was just like posting it on my Facebook page. He happened to listen to it and was like, "This is really awesome. I want to help you guys like get your music out there if you're interested in that." And, you know, we have a really good relationship with Voidhanger. Yeah. Like, they pretty much handle, like, any promotion and the printing of, like, physical media for the album, and we just write music. And that's, you know, that's just what it is.
So, and this is a long-distance project, right? You have collaborators not here, right?
Yeah. Grant actually lives in Thailand.
Yep.
And Gwen lives in a suburb of Chicago. I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly where he lives at. And then Troll lives all the way out in Portland, so almost on the other side of the country.
From an hour to a day to a week between these people, right? Yeah. Travel time with these people. So then the prospect of doing stuff live would obviously not. You would have to either spend a bunch of money and fly everybody somewhere, or is there a potential of getting a group almost like a representative band, you know, to play live in Chicago? This is the band, right?
Right.
Half of our people live across the world. People are starting to pay attention. People are starting to listen. You guys are, you received top 6 death metal albums of the year and received an 85% from hatemeditations.com.
Oh, yeah.
So they were really into it. 10,000 listens is not a joke. So, like, what's any plans for live, or?
We've definitely talked about it. I think the main thing would be getting Grant here into the United States again.
So it would be the actual members versus, like, hey, let me get... So it, you know what I mean? Okay.
I'd like to do it with the core members. We'd have to hire on extra people, probably just for that to have a second guitar.
Course.
Well, I think Grant was actually going to play guitar. We'd probably hire a bass player.
Okay.
And then, strings. I feel like since the woodwind parts are a little more sparse, we could probably have Gwen do like some miscellaneous like instrumentation and stuff. But I would definitely want to have the core band involved, just because I feel like they were such an essential part of creating the sound, you know?
So who does what? Who starts the idea and says, hey, I've got this riff, or hey, I just had this terrible acid trip and demons ate my skin and I want to write about it. How does it happen?
Usually Grant or myself will come up with a riff or an idea and we'll send it to each other. We'll use Guitar Pro most of the time.
Yep.
Or just like a recording. And it kind of goes from there, almost like an Exquisite Corpse type situation, where I'll send them and then they'll add something to it and they'll send it back. Yeah. And then I'll put something on the end of that and then send it back, and he'll add like a bass part over that whole thing.
Truly collaborative from top to bottom.
Yeah, and then usually once we have like most of a song structured or kind of demoed out, that's when we'll start sending it to Troll to add like keyboards and stuff like that.
And then, so who is there a final sayer, or is it a group collective? Okay, we all like this product. Let's go.
I feel like they'll probably end up deferring to me, like, as just like, is this good?
For sure.
Like, there were some instances in the recording of Yearning where Grant would send me something and I'd be like, maybe we could change this up a little bit, and then he'd alter it and then send it back and like, yes, this is awesome. And like specifically, there was a bass line on the last track where I was like, maybe we could make it a little more active, add like some more like kind of counterpoint stuff. And then he sent me another version. I was like, this is exactly what I was looking for. And it's not even exactly like what I probably would have done, which is even better. You know?
So it's a pretty easy collaboration. Like,
yeah, I think especially because Troll and I had played together previously in his other band, Silent Temple.
Okay.
We kind of have a rapport of like what we're looking for in the music and how to work with each other and all that sort of stuff.
Okay. Well, it definitely comes together. I, as a listener, heard a lot, especially in, hold on, I have the name right here. Winter Came Early. Specifically, this is the one that has, as of this morning, 10,188 listens. That's so dope, dude. That's so cool. To me, as a listener, I hear a lot of Matt Ullman, or Ullman, or however you want to say it. He was the composer for the original 2 Diablo games.
Oh, okay.
And StarCraft was one of the projects he did a lot of sound design for. Have you played either of those games by chance?
I haven't, actually. I've always wanted to play StarCraft because I just really want to get into like real-time strategy games.
Couldn't recommend them enough. I'm actually, after this, I will send you the official soundtrack for StarCraft, because it's its own like prog video game music from 1998, when I was still listening to the pop boy bands, being however old I must have been, like 10. Whatever's on the radio was cool, right? And then here comes this prog rock metal background video game music that has stuck with me for, well, now I'm 35, so however many years. And I was specifically hearing some sounds in your clean guitars near the 7-minute mark. It's a long song, dude. It's beautiful, though. What's cool? I don't want to get ahead of myself. So there was some really cool tones there, and then I think the intro. Is that your quattro in the intro of that song?
The tremolo picked part.
Yeah, it straight up. I was transported to just Gothic era Devil Town. Diablo 1 specifically was my first instance of just Gothic as a thing that I understood. Like, this is dark, scary churches, devil stuff. Tim Burton, I was just like, you're crazy. This is weird. So I equate that tremolo sound to Gothic demon towns, and it's such a moving piece.
I just like the variety of like tone that you can get with long songs, I guess. Like, it's hard to fit so many different sounds in a shorter song, I guess.
Yeah.
Without it sounding like manic or garbled or unorganized.
Unless that's the point. So you're unless you're looking for more, you're making more like sonic paintings than say, hey, listen to this jam. Let's pop it on the radio. This is like no man, sit here. You guys are obviously talking about something going on. Is there anything other than just creativity in this? Is there some sort of something you're getting out of you? Was it potentially, this is all 2020 and beyond as far as releases go, is there any COVID pandemic anxieties, or are you just like, yeah man, what if just we had to sell our skin and rip it off every day? Like whatever.
There was definitely like emotion from what was going on in the world involved in the recording process, especially for the full-length album. We did an interview, I don't know, a few months back, and Troll was kind of talking about his experience during the pandemic, and he lived in Portland during like all of the protests and things like that.
Wow, yeah.
So he was like involved in like a lot of the shit that was going on. He was like, I was living like in the streets basically at the time.
Yeah.
So a lot of that kind of translated into his vocal performance, especially I think on the record.
Okay.
And a lot because he and I collaborate on the lyrics a lot of the time too. So,
the cover for the album, for the full length album, we're talking about Yearning. Which first off, the title, Yearning, Promethean Fate Sealed. What do those 4 words mean to you?
So the album is like sort of a concept album, not like narratively, but more like thematically.
Mm-hmm.
So the title of the album, referencing the Promethean myth, we sort of use the myth of Prometheus as like an allegory for, instead of, Prometheus bringing, fire or, aka like enlightenment or technology or whatever you want to say to humanity. It's like humanity's struggle sort of against itself to reach that like enlightenment.
Yeah.
And, it's just about, our yearning as a species to reach a better state of being. And the cover is just sort of supposed to represent that, like reaching above or something.
Who painted the cover?
His name is Carlos Agres. He's a Mexican surrealist painter. He's fantastic.
Who did the Bile of Man then?
The original cover was done by my friend Kai Movog.
Okay.
And he also did some percussion and stuff on the full-length album.
Do you do physical artwork?
No, I don't. I wish I could, but
so then was it just, hey, I'm doing this album? Well, it's an EP. Bile of Man that was all you, correct? Or was that the same?
It's the same lineup.
Good.
I was more in kind of in charge of just the overall creation and execution. Yeah, exactly.
For sure. Okay.
The arrangement, I guess you could say, and then the album was much more like people like
we all did this together.
Exactly.
That makes sense. Okay, so you tell your friend, we're doing this thing. We need an album cover, or did he already have this kind of artwork done? You were like, can I have that one?
I commissioned him for it and just kind of gave him like an idea of what I wanted. Yeah, it was the same for the full length too.
So then your own dad, he redid the Bile of Man Reborn. That's what's on YouTube right now, correct?
Yeah.
I really like it. Was he just like, can I do something? Or were you like, hey Dad, what's up?
Yeah, I mean I asked him to. I grew up with him doing like having his art and stuff on the walls because he was always a really fantastic illustrator. And so I was like, we're doing this remaster.
Yeah.
It'd be dope if you wanted to do something. I didn't really give him anything specific to do. I was just like, if you just make something that the music makes you imagine, I guess. That's what I told him.
So does he like what he's hearing from Fleshvessel?
Yeah. Both my parents are hugely supportive and like buy the records and buy the merch and stuff. So
do they listen to death metal like outside of your parents both listen to death metal outside of that's super cool.
They're kind of like me. They listen to everything.
For sure,
like jazz and symphonic music
and
music, and metal.
Yeah. So they're big supporters. That's really cool, man. Well, so then my last actually official question here for you, are there any plans for your future for getting everybody together? Is it kind of what you're talking about now? Is there another project, or we just finished this other remaster? Give us a minute.
Yeah, there's definitely plans to try and get Grant here again. He applied for like some kind of scholarship thing, so hopefully that will work out. If not, it's just going to be a matter of time and application process and all that stuff. But I mean, for now, we have a few new songs in the works. They're super early stages, but
it's live. We're going forward.
Hell yeah!
Excellent.
And, our plans for 2024 are pretty much just keep working on a new album and try and get some new merch out there. We're going to try and do a vinyl release of the remaster. So that's going to be really cool if it ends up working out.
I got your all's. I should have brought it over here. I got your cassette tape.
Oh hell yeah!
It's super cool. I like the approach of getting some merch out there because it's so easy to just hop on DistroKid, get on Spotify and all the streams, right? And then, so you're out there, but it's not really getting you anything other than, I guess, a few listens, but somebody buys with intent. Have you guys seen a lot of intentional purchases? Like, what's it look? Yeah,
definitely. Like, even today, like after this, I have to go to the record store and get a bunch of LP mailers because I have to send out like 4 records.
Dude,
today, so.
do you get one? Do you order one from yourself, or do you get one for free as the deal from the record producer?
I
Like,
get.
do you vote for yourself? And right?
You mean like from the record label? Like how
Yeah,
many
do
copies
you go to
I
your
get?
website, buy your own record? Or?
No, they give us 20% of all the records pressed for free.
Oh, that's cool.
So, like, if there's 200 records pressed, we get 20
For
to sell
sure.
ourselves or whatever.
Send to yourself, send to close family and whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
Dude, cool.
And enough to sell to even make money off, especially because we're not putting up any money up front to get them pressed. We're making 100% profit on whatever records we can sell that they give us. So
Yeah. Dude, that's really cool. Okay. Well, we got some few songs coming up. The 2023 remaster of Bile of Man is released and will be linked on this episode. It's pretty sick. Check out Yearning, Promethean, Fate Sealed on Spotify, YouTube as well, anywhere you can find Fleshvessel. Alex, thanks for coming out and talking, man.
hell yeah, thanks for having me.